we don't feel because we are programmed and and something got normalized in the family or in the community where you are, and it shouldn't be normal, right? So sometimes we need some support and help in order to see in ourselves and in our lives that where should those boundaries be, okay, in a healthy relationship. These are the important things that you have to do when you set a boundary. You have to clearly state where is the boundary, what is the boundary, how it affects you. Ask the person to respect your boundary, yeah, and also, inform the person what will happen if the boundary is crossed again. So hello and welcome back to my podcast, Self-Discovery Simplified. And today we're going to continue with the boundaries. And if you haven't listened to my previous episode, go and check that out first, when I explain you why we need boundaries in order to feel safe and contained and empowered, and what are the very dire consequences if you don't have boundaries, and how does that shows up and plays out in your life. But today we're going to continue with how to set a boundary, because this simple thing is such a big deal for so many people. And I really believe that this is something that should be taught in schools, in elementary school, and it's a real disgrace that we don't do that. But here we are, never too late, right? So here we are, and we are learning together. So how to set a boundary, okay? So step number one is you need to become aware of where are your limits, okay? Where are your breaking points, so to say. So the first thing I want you to do is to take a piece of paper and write down what is not okay and what is okay in a relationship. If you just want to write down what is not okay, that's fine, because that's the boundaries. But sometimes people feel that it's difficult to do that. So you can start writing both sides, right? But what we really want to know, what are the things that are absolutely not acceptable for you in any relationship? And don't just think about a romantic relationship, like think about any relationship. So for example, physical violence or aggression, if somebody hits you, right? That's a big no-no for most people that say, no, it's definitely, absolutely, I would not tolerate that. If that would happen, that would be severe consequences of that, probably the ending of the relationship, right? So, or cheating, right? Emotional manipulation. There is some things that are pretty obvious, and there are other things that are not so obvious. So probably it will take you a while to complete that list, because there is some things that are obvious that, yeah, I don't want, somebody to hit me, but if somebody yells at me, is that okay? Well, my father used to yell at me, so maybe that's okay, because that he loved me, and then he apologized. So that's the problem, that the first problem we face, that you're not sure, in some cases, is that okay or if that not okay. Okay, so while you're writing that list, what I want you to do, take, let's say, a week, and just observe your life, because in your life there are situations when you don't feel good, when you feel, I should have said something here but I didn't. I want you to observe those situations and to write those things and what happened. For example, person gaslighted me, or this person was insulting me or humiliating me in front of other people, or were condescending in their tone of voice or what they said. So life will show you where are those points, because you will not feel good. This is how you know, even if you don't know consciously that, oh, it should be a boundary here, you won't feel good in that situation. Yeah, if your boss is yelling at you, maybe your boss is right, but you come out of the office and you feel horrible and feel somebody beat you up and you feel small and humiliated or whatever. That's how you know that that was not okay what happened, and maybe not what he said, but the way he said it. Start your list and then keep watching and observing your life and notice which are the situations where you walk away feeling horrible, feeling terrible, feeling awful, feeling small, feeling disempowered, feeling helpless, feeling hopeless, yeah, feeling ashamed, feeling guilty, all these kind of things. So notice those situations, because that's can indicate that should be a boundary there, and you should do or say something about that, but you don't or you didn't because you are programmed not to do that, yeah, because you're programmed maybe to obey or to never talk back or to never be disrespectful or not to yell or raise your voice or so on and so forth. If you haven't checked that episode, check out how your hidden beliefs ruining your life and why, how and why we acquire these programmings that are limiting our life and creating suffering. And that's one of the good examples that we have programs that are telling us that not to say anything, not to do anything, even though we are feeling that we want to say something. So that's the first step, to clarify yourself where the boundary should be, that what is that is not okay for you in a relationship, what is that is not acceptable for you in a relationship. And this is a process in itself, and sometimes you need professional help to help you, somebody to give you different perspectives in order to see, a dysfunctional situation, because oftentimes dysfunction is normalized. Oftentimes we are so enmeshed in families, in intimate relationships, that we don't notice. We don't know that there should be a boundary there because it was normalized, right? If your dad was shouting and yelling at you in your whole life, then it is kind of normal for you that somebody is just shouting and yelling and they are just like that. But for a person who've never been shouted or yelled at, if somebody would shout at them, they would be like, what the heck you're doing? That's not cool. Just chill out and lower your voice or I'm gonna leave, right? So oftentimes we don't feel, because we are programmed and and something got normalized in the family or in the community where you are, and it shouldn't be normal, right? So sometimes we need some support and help in order to see in ourselves and in our lives that where should those boundaries be, okay, in a healthy relationship. So that's number one, clarifying where the boundaries should be, and that's a big undertaking in itself. Number two, okay, you have to communicate that boundary to the person. Yeah, you have to do this in the right moment. You have to tell the person, what is the boundary, what is not acceptable anymore. For example, let's take yelling, okay? You have to say to the person that, I want to let you know that yelling is not okay for me, is not acceptable for me in the relationship anymore, okay? That's not acceptable. When you yell at me, I feel, just scared, anxious, small, disempowered, abused, unloved, so on and so forth. And I don't want to feel like that. And for me, this is crossing a line. So I would like you to respect this boundary and not yell at me when we are communicating. If you want to talk to me, we can talk in a normal voice and normal language. If you're agitated or angry or something, you can take some moments to calm down, and when you are calm, we can communicate, with respect in a non-violent way, right? And that's what I want. Yeah, I would like if we could communicate in a non-violent way without yelling, and we could learn how to do that together. All right, so first of all, you need to clearly communicate what is not okay for you, why is it not okay for you, and as the person to respect that boundary. Now, the next step is, first you need to think about this before you say it, that what will happen if the person crosses this boundary again? If you put the boundary down already and this person like next day starts starts yelling at you again. Yeah. So in this case, you think about it ahead. So if this happens again, what I'm going to do? Yeah. One option is walk away. Okay. Remove yourself from the situation. So when you are setting a boundary, you have to tell the person, once you told the person that yelling is not okay, please don't yell at me anymore. What is that you want instead? I want nonviolent communication. Yeah. And what will happen if the boundary is crossed again? If you yell at me again, I'm going to leave the situation and I'm going to give ourselves space and time to calm down and to get a grip. And then later we can talk about what happened. Okay. So these are the important things that you have to do when you set a boundary. You have to clearly state where is the boundary, what is the boundary, how it affects you. Ask the person to respect your boundary. Yeah. And also, inform the person what will happen if the boundary is crossed again. All right. And also you have to tell what you want instead, this behavior, right? So these are very important things. That's one of the things that most people don't do. They just say, don't yell at me, but they they don't say what will happen if you do. They don't even go there with their mind. They just say, don't yell at me, and then the person just yells again. That's what happens. That's not a boundary setting. Okay. Another important thing is that a boundary setting is not a discussion, it's a declaration. It's not a discussion. It's not that, what do you think about this boundary? Do you think it's okay not yelling? No, it's like no yelling, period. Not okay to yell at me under no circumstances. And if you're going to yell, I'm going to walk out of the room. Okay. So it's not something that you discuss with the other person, because that's another mistake that people often do, that they want to make it a discussion, right? And this is a declaration, right? And then what you need afterwards is you need to enforce the boundary consistently. So, okay, 3 steps. You need to clarify the boundary, where the boundary should be. Maybe you need help with that. You need to communicate this to the other person clearly, and also what will be the consequences if the person crosses the boundary again. And then you have to enforce it, which is do what you say you will do. So if the person yells at you again, you do what you said you will do, which is leave the situation and walk again, and just said, okay, I'm going to leave now because you are yelling again, and I'm going to, take some time, and we can continue once things calm down, and we can continue in a proper way. Okay. This is the missing link where most people fail. And I'm talking mostly about women because I work with a lot of women, and this is a huge issue for women for obvious reasons. But, especially women with children, because it's especially hard for mothers to enforce a boundary. But if you are a mother and if you are thinking about enforcing boundaries for your children, as I mentioned in the previous episode, boundaries provide containment and safety for the child. And it's not a bad thing, right? So these are something that it's good, healthy, and necessary. All right. So enforcing it, because what happens in most cases is that people don't respect your boundaries because they know that you're never gonna do anything about it. That all you're gonna do is to say, don't yell at me. But that's all you're gonna do, So people learn that there is no consequence of their behavior. So why would they change their behavior when there is no consequence? Okay, so this is very important to understand, that people are going to take you seriously is either your child, your partner, your neighbor, whoever, if you enforce the boundary and you do what you said you're going to do. And then the people are going to understand that there's a line there not to be crossed. Otherwise, there will be these consequences. Oftentimes, people have difficulty with that. So here is another step where you might need help, professional help and support, how to do this, because not so easy to do, to enforce a boundary, because there is many reasons, that we're going to go into next week. Okay. So if you try to do this the first time in a situation that is a dysfunctional or toxic situation with a person, and you are like, okay, it's over. Now I know how to set a boundary, and I'm gonna set a boundary, probably you're not gonna succeed the first time. time. So don't despair. This is not like, okay, boom, overnight, I know how to do this. There is a lot that we need to work through, some internal obstacles, some hidden beliefs, some programs that are holding you back from doing what is good for you, what is in your best interest. So we're going to talk about that in the next episode, okay? Because I want you to succeed, and I want you to help you with this, because this is such an important piece of self-empowerment and having power to make better decisions about your life. Without boundaries, we are powerless. So this is one of my favorite, little topic that you're gonna hear more about. And in the next episode, I'm gonna I'm gonna continue talking about what are the most common challenges and why is it difficult for people to do these 3 simple things that just seems, so easy in theory. Okay, so if you are just starting out and if you're not succeeding, don't despair. This will take some time. This will take some, practice, some support, some guidance, but you can succeed and you will succeed. And it's important, it's vital to have healthy boundaries. So practical tip for today is, as I said already, create your list of boundaries, of where the boundaries you think should be in your life. Okay, and if you have trusted friends who you really trust and they support you, you can ask them also, because sometimes they see things, from a different angle, and they can give us very good feedback. So if you want to share with us, in the comments, what is the most difficult for you, is to know where the boundary should be, to communicate it in the appropriate way in the person that is being heard and received, or to enforce the boundary once it is set. So I would love to know that which one you struggle the most with. Okay, and stay tuned for the next episode when we continue with the boundaries next week. And sending you lots of love, and have a magical day.